Hey everyone, and welcome to Newegg TV. My name is Paul, and today I'm going to be doing an unboxing and overview of a couple new cases from Fractal. These are both the Define R4 case, the newer version of the Define R3, which is a very popular case. I have the windowed version right here, as well as the non-windowed version, both in black. Just going to do a quick look at some of the information on the outside of the retail box. So first off, here's an exploded view of the case itself. I'm of course going to be taking you on a complete tour of that, but I did want to show you all the parts as they can be removed. And then here's some look at the specs on the side. So as far as drive bay capacity, we have two 5¼ inch bays. We have 8 3.5 inch hard drive bays and two 2.5 inch dedicated SSD storage positions, which are actually behind the motherboard. Also for expansion, we have 7 PCI slots plus an extra one on the side. Motherboard compatibility of ATX, micro ATX, and mini ATX. We got front USB 2.0 as well as 3.0, audio in and out and all that good stuff. Power supply compatibility listed right there, up to 170mm depth. Graphics card compatibility of up to 12 inches, and you can go beyond that if you remove one of the hard drive cages. CPU cooler compatibility up to 170mm. Some extra info there about the cable routing behind the motherboard, etc., as well as the case dimensions. And then down here, we also have the cooling system listed out with all of the fans, which ones are included and which ones are not. So here's a look at the Define R4 non-windowed version. And Fractal has gone with the intent to upgrade this case to improve on some of the aesthetics as well as the functionality, while still maintaining a lot of the features that made the Define R3 so popular. And those features include sort of an understated aesthetic. It's got a really clean look and design. It's fairly simple. You don't have a lot of the maybe bling type effects going on or special panels on the front or anything like that. It's really somewhat serious, and a lot of people actually like that design choice, of course. And then due to popular demand, they've of course added the windowed version, and I'll be showing you guys that one as well. But let's start off with a quick tour. As you can see, it's got a black finish. Up here on the front, we have a aluminum finish, a brushed metal aluminum finish on the front panel. This is actually a plastic panel. That is just a strip of aluminum covering that they've put on the front of it right there, but it helps keep the door nice and light. And as you can see, one of the features of this case, again, being a silent design, they have lots of foam for dampening sound and vibration throughout the case. So here you can see an inset foam insert here on the front, and that's going to be dampening any noise that comes from the front of the case. And if you're concerned at all about airflow, well, worry not, because there are plenty of gaps for the air to be intake air from the side on both sides of this front panel. Going into the front, we'll start up here on the top. We do have a blue glowing light, LED light, way up there at the top. That's right in front of the power button, which I'll show you when we get a view of the top. And then below that, of course, we have two 5¼ inch drive bays. Really easy to remove these front panels. They are vented to provide some extra ventilation if you're not actually installing a 5¼ inch drive right there. And again, pretty easy to remove and pop back in. Just to the right of that, we have a 3-step fan controller. So this is going to be doing voltage control for fans, so the 3-pin fans that you might connect to this controller. And you have 3 steps again, 5 volt, 7 volt, and 12 volt to adjust the RPMs. And then of course you have this additional front panel here, and this, by pushing in, can pop out and down, folds down simply like that. So you can kick out some dust with an air can or something like that if it's collected there on the front. A secondary filter right here, and again, by simply pushing down a little tab on the top, you can pop that out. This is actually going to be the mounts for your fans as well. So as you can see, here's your included 140mm front intake fan. It's got a nice braided cable, and you'll notice that Fractal's gone with a white and black design for this case throughout. So you'll be seeing white highlights, such as the fan blades, such as the connectors on the 3-pin fan connector. And also here, apart from this being a little fan cage, which you can mount a couple fans to, when you actually pop it down like that, if I can not get my cable stuck. That cable normally wouldn't be in the way because it would be threaded back there and plugged in. But you also have this little fan filter right here. So a secondary fan filter, you can slide out just like that to clean it out. And this being the primary intake for the case, that's going to be something that's, well, I really like filters on fan intakes, because that's going to be where the dust collects, and keeping that clean will keep your case running nice and quiet and cool. All right, here over is the left side panel of the case. Again, we have a side intake. Again, going with the silent theme, there is actually a covering panel on this. So if you don't need that airflow directly over your video cards, and most people don't, if you're running maybe a dual card video card solution or something along those lines, or going for a more extreme overclock, you can pop that panel off and it's got a mount there for a 120 or 140 millimeter fan. Around here on the back, you can see this case, well, this case has a really wide stance, which I like because it gives it, well, a lot of stability, of course. It's also a fairly sturdy case. It actually has a fair amount of weight to it, which just kind of goes hand in hand with the build quality and the design, with the steel panels and the construction. But you'll notice here on the back, you have some honeycomb ventilation here for some air to escape at the top. You have black thumb screws holding on your side panels. You have a 140 millimeter fan right up here for exhaust. You also have 120 millimeter fan mounts right there, although I don't know why you would remove the 140 to put on the 120. Wait, I know why you might do that. You might do that if you have like a closed loop CPU cooler and you want to mount it right there. You also have a knockout right there for your input-output shield, 7 PCI slots right there for your add-on cards such as graphics cards. You'll again notice some white highlighting right there, and all these also have some additional ventilation to let air flow out. You also have an additional +1 or 8th PCI slot bracket right there. Again, you can pop that out if you want to add on, for instance, little USB ports or FireWire or little add-on PCI bracket like that. Finally, down here at the bottom, you have your power supply mount. This does have a bit of foam padding inside of it. I'll give you guys another look at that when we get inside of the case. But that is, again, to reduce noise and vibration. And then right here on the bottom is also a removable dust filter that's going to cover the intake for the power supply, as well as a fan mount that's right beyond that. Since I just removed the fan filter, I will show you guys the bottom. As you can see, this is where your power supply intake would be. You also have a 120 or 140 millimeter fan mount there in the bottom. If you want some additional airflow in the case, I also like some, so I should put that on the right way. Some nice touches here, like they've flared out the sides here where the fan filter goes on to help it slide in there more easily. Also, you have rubberized feet that are very thick, and again, that's going to help reduce vibration as well as keep the surface that the computer is set on free from scratches. And now I have laid the case on its side, so here's a look at the top front, just so we can look at the connectors up here. We have a microphone and headphone. We also have a reset button right there. Power button right there, and again, glowing blue LED, which will surround that power button, as well as that blue LED up on the front. Also, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and those have an internal 20-pin header, 2 USB 2.0 ports. Then moving back down this side again, we have some more fan mounts that are currently covered by some protective noise dampening material. Again, optional to remove those if you want to install fans. You have mounting points here for 2 140 millimeter fans. You also have mounting points here for 2 120 millimeter fans, or it's positioned so that you could mount a 240 millimeter, that's 120 by 2 radiator, and they actually have 2 mounting positions for that. So you'll notice these 4 holes right here, which are a little bit closer to where your motherboard would be, or if you need a little bit more clearance, you can bump it out to this second position, which gives you an extra ½ inch or so of space. At this point, I'm going to transition over and give us a closer look at the windowed version for the interior, but the last thing here, which is a difference between the two models, is the side panel here for the non-windowed version, and there's just a look at the inside. So you can see, again, some padding here, noise dampening material, also really sturdy construction. You get barely any bowing or flexing of this side panel at all. It's really well constructed as well as really well painted. So there's a look at both sides. They've rolled over the steel here around sort of the edges to provide some extra rigidity. Again, nice sturdy catches here for sliding the side panel on and off. And then again, this removable foam cover right there for that side panel fan intake. And here's a look at the windowed version. As you can see, nice big side panel window right there. If you notice, that's actually the plastics that's on the inside. So I'll take that off in just a moment, but that's the look from the outside. Remember, apart from this side panel, there's really not too much difference between these cases. So you're going to be adding the well, the bling factor. Am I allowed to say bling more than once in a video? Too late. But you're going to be losing a little bit of the sound dampening properties. So bear that in mind. If you do want 100% silence with your case, you might want to go with the non-windowed version. But the windowed version right here will give you a nice clear view at all of your internals. So if you got a really high quality build in there, well, a nice side panel window will give you the means to look at it and ogle it on a daily basis. All right, again, we have some of that sound dampening material positioned entirely around the window, and of course that same build quality that you saw with the side panel from the non-windowed version. Next up, we shall take a look inside. I'm going to start out towards the back here. So there's another look at the inside with that 140 millimeter fan. Again, nice braided cable here as well as that white plug. You can also see the motherboard tray right back here, as well as a couple of the mounting points for SSDs, the 2.5-inch drive mounts that they've added, and you can actually mount those drives behind the motherboard tray, which won't give you a good look at them, but is a nice, clever way to mount them. So particularly if you're going to be maxing this case out with drives, that's a great option for adding a couple SSDs. Also here you can see a look at, again, the white highlights there on the PCI brackets. Down here at the bottom, we have some extra foam providing some cushion there between your power supply and the rear of the case. Also here on the bottom, the power supply will be held aloft slightly at least by some cushion pads there at the bottom for the power supply to rest on. Let's talk about the cables and connectors right here. You have a 20-pin USB 3.0 connector right there for the two front panel USB ports. This is 10-pin USB 2.0. I had to count really quick right there. USB 2.0 header right there for your motherboard for these two USB 2.0 ports up at the front. Your front panel connectors for power reset and LED. And then, of course, HD audio. And actually what I like that they've done here is they've ditched the AC97 audio, which hasn't really been a standard for a good 10 years or so. HD audio is pretty much what every single motherboard these days is going to have, so you don't have that extra little cable hanging off there with more brightly colored cableness that I usually end up taping down with black tape just because I feel like it looks so hideous in my builds. A couple more connectors right here. This is simply a power connector for that fan controller, and then a couple more 3-pin connectors there for the fan controller that you can do that 3-way adjustment for. Also, you'll notice, again, fully painted black interior. They've done a really quality job with the paint on here. You also notice a nice sturdy grommets here to feed your cables through. They've actually got two up at the top, which I find to be quite handy, as well as running down the side of the motherboard here. And you will, of course, also notice different markings there for your motherboard standoffs, depending whether you're going with standard ATX or micro ATX, so that's helpful. And then moving over here, we have your two 5¼ bays up there in the top right. We have a removable, theoretically removable, 5-drive cage right here. These are thumb screws, but they were secured in there quite tightly, which I'm totally fine with. That's great for shipping. Just a little screwdriver helps to get those out. So this drive cage is removable, as you can see. 5 drives right there. If you're not going to be installing a bunch of drives in your computer, and a lot of gaming computers, you really only have maybe 1, maybe 2 mechanical hard drives maximum, you can install those in the bottom here, remove that cage, and that gives you an extra 4 inches or so of space for your graphics card. Even with that cage installed, you can still install graphics card up to 12 inches in length, and these days it's pretty rare to see anything longer than that. Here's a look at your actual mounting cage there for your 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch drives. 3.5-inch drives will mount from the bottom. They have some grommets in there, which is very handy with mechanical spinning drives to help, again, reduce noise and vibration. And then you'll notice these 4 mounting points right there. Those are for SSD, our 2.5-inch drive, and no grommets required for that because SSDs have no moving parts. But again, drop that right in there, and you will simply slide it in, snaps into place, and then your drive is installed. Here's some accessories, which I'll be going over in just a moment. There's a look at that bottom drive cage by itself with the 3 cage mounts, and then I'll just set this to the side while I take a look at the back. Alright, so we'll close here with a look at the right side panel and cable management area. Hey, here's the right side panel, and again, more sound dampening material all across the back of that one. And here's a look at the interior where you get, I'm not going to say exactly how much space because I forgot my ruler, but look, my whole hand can almost fit back here. There's plenty of space behind this motherboard tray for routing of your cables, as well as, again, those grommets scattered throughout in their ideal locations, both at the top here for stuff like your supplemental CPU power connector, as well as on the sides here for routing up cables to drives, routing cables over to your PCI Express power, for example, as well as popping your cables out from your power supply itself. You also have plenty of tie-down points, so if you're right here going down this area, and this is generally speaking where most of your cable management will go on. Again, here you can also see the mounting points for a couple 2.5-inch drives right there. Simply bolt them from the opposite side of the motherboard. Bear in mind, guys, that you will want to do that before you install your motherboard. That's pretty important. Also here you can see a nice big cutout there for your CPU backplate, so if you're going with an aftermarket cooler and you install it after the motherboard has been installed, in a lot of situations here you should be able to get at that if there's a backplate you need to install. Also, we have, well, the cables coming in here for your fans. You'll notice that they actually have not plugged these in, and sometimes in some cases you'll find that they've really wired everything in already for you, and whereas I've looked at that before and thought, oh, that's nice, I find that I always end up undoing it. So whenever I have like a big bundle of cables right here, I always end up untying it and sort of rewiring everything myself. That might be because of my own personal anal retentive attention to cable management. Again, that's maybe a matter of preference, but they have at least tied down your main groups of cables here coming for your front panel connectors. Here is your third plug there for that fan controller up at the front. Again, here is some open space because I did not reinstall that drive tray. And that pretty much wraps it up for the interior of the case. Again, I love the amount of cable management space that you have back there, because you should be able to get a really clean build going with this case. Let's finish off with accessories. Here is your Fractal Define R4 computer case user's manual, as well as some information on returns if you do have any issues with the case. Fractal stands behind the products they sell. We also have your motherboard standoffs right here, so these are included separately. They have included a little thumb screw type guy. I don't know if you guys have seen one of these before. It's got a flathead or Phillips head on the top, and it's basically it's like a little socket that you can use to tighten your standoffs in, because it's really important to secure down those motherboard standoffs so that they don't back out if you ever have to remove your motherboard. Here are the screws to attach your motherboard to those standoffs. I also like that they've actually separated all the screws here in this, which is very handy. All right, here's your drive mounting screws right there for 2.5-inch drives, etc. Here are the spaced out screws here to mount mechanical drives to the included cages through the grommets. Here are some additional thumb screws. Here are some additional rubber pads. You can use those if you're going to install fans to any of the fan mounts on the case and you want to provide some extra cushion in there to reduce vibration. Here is for mounting your power supply. Then finally, you get a little collection of zip ties. And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Once again, this has been the Fractal Define R4 mid-tower computer case, available both with a window and without a window, also available in a variety of colors, available on Newegg.com. I'm Paul with Newegg TV, and if you enjoyed today's video, you can find more on our Newegg TV YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you all next time on Newegg TV.